Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are joining this webinar today. Thanks for everybody for joining and taking the time for the next 30 minutes or so to be with us. And thanks for the marketing teams at the companies Turvo and Youredi to organize this event. And of course, thanks to our guest, Jeff Graan, to be with us here today for the next 30 minutes. Today, we're going to talk about data connectivity and process integration in the logistics technology world, how these kind of modern data connectivity solutions can complement and bring advantages to the users and the different stakeholders within the industry. So I'm going to give the speech now to Jeff to introduce himself and introduce Turvo. So Jeff, feel free.
Sure. Thank you, Jaakko, and thank you everybody for taking your time out of your day today to spend your time with us. So my name is Jeff Graan, and I lead the sales engineering team here at Turvo, and we partnered with Youredi some time ago. We're going to talk a little bit about that. My experience has been over 30 years in supply chain, the last 15 specifically in the tech industry, which makes me a good candidate for today's call. Now, with that, I am part of the team here at Turvo, and Turvo is the #1 collaborative TMS in the world, and we do things a little bit different here. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that and how we use integration platform as a service as a differentiator, and then also how Turvo itself is a differentiator in the marketplace.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. So my name is Jaakko Elovaara. I'm from the Youredi side, based in New York, and mostly looking after the commercial activities and the strategy execution of the company as the CEO and the co-founder. What we do data integration. That's pretty much our business. So we are completely focused on connecting the different dots of the supply chain between different stakeholders in this industry globally. And today, as mentioned, we're going to talk about this data connectivity and process integration in this world of logistics technology and the supply chain. So, Jeff, you obviously, understand and see the fit of us working together in terms of the customer audience. But how would you see the industry and this technology, in 2023 now? How does it look like to you with all your experience?
Okay. All right. So it's migrated quite a bit over the last, I'll just say 10 to 15 years. It used to be everybody wanted to have their own systems, have them housed within their four walls, and then basically cobble them together with old dated technology. Now we've seen the migration to the industry looking for best of breed solutions. And that could be in the TMS, order management, WMS, and then of course point solutions or technology enabling partners, as I'll call them, to allow something like TMS or Turvo to operate more efficiently, and in specific niches have those bolt-ons be able to enhance our users' experience. So what we've also seen is that if you're trying to keep up with each one of those best of breed integrations, you're really falling behind, because that's such a hard skill set to manage, and that's also a never-ending battle to be able to integrate those systems as the best of breed is changing. So what we've seen is more companies now are looking for that integration platform as a service, and so they can manage those integrations together. And think about payments, PODs, delivery updates, location updates, digital boards, your WMS, TMS, order management system, ERP. That connectivity together itself is best served by an iPaaS solution.
Okay, and maybe as a quick explanation, what we talk about when we talk about iPaaS. iPaaS is actually a terminology launched by Gartner maybe 10-15 years ago, which describes an iPaaS to be an integration platform as a service that is running on public cloud and is multi-tenant and, let's say, very replicable and reusable. So in this industry, in logistics and supply chain, we see a lot of traditional WAN value-added network players. These are, of course, quite old already, as the EDI standard was kind of defined in the 1970s or something. And In the modern world, the requirements are very different. If we look at this Amazon experience, for example, everything is events based. So things have to happen immediately. You have to have the visibility. You have to have the, the triggers and take the actions like based on those events that happen whenever they happen. Instead of this kind of old, let's say, batch-based world where you would be able to move these events in agreed cycles like every day or every hour or every week or whatever it might be. So if we look at the benefits or the idea of this iPaaS platform, especially now in this industry, it's much easier to maintain. Of course, let's say that you have to do a change somewhere, you have to update one interface or some fields or whatever, it's going to be distributed to all of these different connections you have in place. It's also a very capable platform, and that depends, of course, on the iPaaS as well. But how to do the data processing, how to be able to enrich data, how to be able to validate data, and so on, and not just moving data from place A to place B. I think there was some smart CTO from a bigger software company who said that WAN networks are more like landline phones. You call and it works or it doesn't. Somebody picks up the phone or it does not. So, so if you think about, Jeff, these modern ways how to do the data connectivity and process integration, how would you think, what are the three most important benefits for your customers, which I believe are like 3PLs, brokers, shippers, logistics, any logistics service providers, basically?
Okay, awesome question. So thank you. The first one I'm going to talk about, I would say, and you said the word a short time ago, is modernization. And with modernization, we also have speed. So the modernization of your infrastructure, your integration platform is key. What that's going to allow you to do is to scale and then also bring in data in a near real-time fashion. Then I would say API familiarity. I know, there's flat files being exchanged, EDI transactions that really haven't changed in almost 40 years, and those are still floating around. But to get all the features and functionality out of most best of breed solutions, you're going to be having to utilize a connectivity between an API and a webhook and being able to exchange that information between systems. And that's really where Youredi comes into specifically for Turvo in the market that we play in. And then the other thing I would say is domain expertise. We've tried to work with a couple other commercially available platform services, integration platform services. But what we found is when they don't understand supply chain, they really don't understand the nuances that our users are looking to or having to solve for. And each customer is a little bit different, some complex and some not so complex. And that familiarity of supply chain is really key in today's best of breed solutions. Just as we look at it from the Turvo perspective, it really allows our customers to then focus on what's important to them, and that's moving freight, minimizing their transportation, or growing their business on the LSP side. And then they can then utilize those best of breed solutions, and they don't have to worry about how am I going to integrate? What if they update their code? What if there's a change? This is all handled between Turvo and then, of course, Youredi. This really enforces the best of breed mentality and the comfort knowing that the best of breed is the way to go versus just buying everything from essentially one shop, which is the old way of doing things. So,
okay.
Now, Jaakko, I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Now, how does iPaaS then ultimately create a plug and play environment that's, let's say, repeatable, cost effective, everybody's looking at cost, and then also it's standardized?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And when we talk about plug and play, so this is a topic in this industry that it's very hard to achieve because there's always the flavor of these different stakeholders. We're dealing with these pretty old data formats in some cases, proprietary formats, and also Edifact and ANSI X12, of course, are old formats. Our aim is to go as close as plug and play as possible, but we are not there yet, and I don't think anybody is there. If somebody claims to be, I think they might be doing something, but when we talk about these, let's say, business critical integrations, it's probably not the reality yet. Our idea is to build on this kind of a common carrier layer methodology. So we talk about libraries, for example, where we have different kind of interfacing protocols. We have these different data mappings, data transformations, different kind of business logic and rules for validations and enrichment. As you just said in a few minutes ago, our focus, even though we have a very horizontal technology platform that can do pretty much anything, like, even from language translation, we are focused completely on supply chain and logistics because we think that there is a better, fit to focus somewhere than go everywhere. We just can't do it everywhere. So the idea of this, let's say, technology capabilities, of course, putting a lot of money back into the R&D all the time and developing the platform and let's say the edge products on the side. We talk about customer solutions, and then having this industry expertise and really focusing on increasing that industry expertise and bringing that to the customer's benefit. I think that's the way for us to get to plug and play environment as much as possible. But reality still is, and we do not overpromise our customers that it would be ready. We also are investing and working on different kind of initiatives like, self-onboarding tools so that we're able to push the burden of the connectivity actually to the third parties who need to connect with our customers or partners, for example, to try to minimize and mitigate the risks of the operational risks of migration as well. This is one big area in the whole supply chain messaging area, with the vans in the typical order to invoice. Big companies are paying a lot for these, quite old services, but it's hard to get rid of it. So there must be a way how to, get it done faster and quicker, and that's where we are focusing on a lot. So what we have learned from this is we tried to build, and we have been building this like, let's say, technology reusability is one area. The other is process reusability, how to do the onboardings, how to do the mappings, how to make sure that we go live as quickly as possible. One of the risks with integration always has been that these projects might take a long time and they might get messy and you never know how it ends. So we try to always have an SLA that we deliver upon a certain amount of days or weeks to after UAT testing to be live with the customer, so that actually the data is flowing. And the whole idea is to help customers achieve, of course, automation and scaling opportunities here. So that's what we try to do.
Okay, thank you. Another question for you, because as I start thinking about it, and I'm a logistician at heart, started in my career in the operations side of the country's largest trucking company, and then got into the technology. And one thing that's always been top of mind for me is security. So when we're exchanging data and between us, Turvo, and then Youredi, and then of course all these other solutions that are out there, how do you ensure data integrity and ultimately security to your customers?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and of course the IT security, and that's one of the let's say the very foundational elements of any kind of technology solution in today's world. And when we started developing, that was like #1 priority. I think timing wise, we are running on Microsoft Azure data centers, so we are using those. We could be also on Amazon or Google or whatever, but our choice was to go with Microsoft. And that was a good timing in a sense that these public clouds who are investing billions of dollars of money annually for the platforms and their security solutions, of course, helped these kind of newly founded companies to leverage that platform instead of starting to build your own data center in a basement, for example, where the cost elements would be completely different. So I would say that foundationally the platform, of course, the Microsoft Azure platform with the data security is very important. We have gone through different kind of audits with our customers. We work, for example, with banks who are operating in the freight payment and audit area, so they are pretty strict. We work also with credit card companies to some extent, and they are very sensitive on this topic. So I can't go into all the details because I don't have that capacity in my head, but it's other people in our company. But we take security very seriously, and that's always like #1 priority before anything else, to make sure that the customer data in this kind of a multi-tenant, many-to-many platform must be built in a way, or must be designed in a way that there is no risk whatsoever that the data would be messed up between different tenants.
Okay, thank you.
So, by the way, let's I'll put the question back to you. How do you see the security play in the TMS world and the integrations within your ecosystems and customer ecosystems?
Sure. First, I would love to comment on yours. Your response was very, very detailed, and I appreciate that. So when we look at Turvo, we were built 7 years ago, started SaaS, and that's all we'll ever be is SaaS, software as a service. And in that model, if we compromise our customer data, we're out of business. It's that simple. So what we've had to do is we've had to partner with a couple of companies that are going to ensure that we have the most secure network possible. And one of them is Amazon Web Services. Obviously a worldwide recognized name, and it's who we trust to basically build our infrastructure on top of. We also go through a SOC 2 compliant audit every year. And what that does is that allows us the ability to use an external partner to audit our systems, our processes, our security, our backup protocols, and so forth, and then be able to then give us the good, the bad, and the ugly, and ensure that we meet that certification. And we do that every year.
Okay, cool. By the way, you mentioned API and the importance of APIs earlier in the webinar. So we hear people talking about this API mentality. Exactly what does it mean in your business?
Sure. Well, we try not to be in the file sharing business. So back in the day, people would be just exchanging files and downloads and going to FTP sites. And what we've done is as we've constructed Turvo, we basically have entities, and those entities are places to park data. Maybe it's an order, maybe it's a shipment, maybe it's a carrier, maybe it's a rate, and so forth. And what we've done is we've created a API and webhook for each one of our entities, so that we've got the data, so that we're able to receive data, and then we're also able to exchange data with another system once it's been processed, let's say, or just needs to be shared outside of Turvo. And that's really where Youredi comes in, is when we've got a customer, and it happens all the time, where they don't have they're a successful broker, they're a large 3PL, and they're integrating with their customers. But then when we need to take the data from them into our system, Youredi comes to the show and basically is exchanging that data and acting as that integration platform. So that API really makes it very, very easy for us to then exchange that data. And then it also allows us to configure what data needs to be received and then can be exchanged to fully utilize all the features and benefits within Turvo.
Okay. So I guess we've been working together now for a year roughly, and we have had pretty good success together. So how would you could you somehow phrase in how does this iPaaS technology and service strengthen and complement the companies, Turvo users or any TMS provider users, infrastructure?
Okay.
What is your experience and what have you heard?
Sure. It really allows me to go back to that best of breed methodology and being able to not be afraid of implementing a TMS and then using that implementation as the timing to then bolt on to additional best of breed solutions. Maybe it's a niche digital posting board. Maybe it's a financial system that's not mainstream. Maybe it's an order system of one of our customers. And then really that iPaaS allows us to then not worry about it. Youredi knows our API structure and the construct, and then you're already working with that every day. So then all you're doing is then going out to then those other systems and exchanging the data between your platform and that. And then what that really does is allows us speed to market and less pain on our customers. And if we went to our customers and said, you're going to have to figure this out, that's going to be another task for them, where it's implementing a TMS. It's a big enough change and change management process. But then to tell somebody to have to go and integrate to 2, 3, 4 other systems could be a challenge. Well, and again, the bond that we have with Youredi has really minimized that as we go to market and then are selling the best of breed solutions.
Okay, thanks. I think we covered already the benefits to freight brokers and 3PLs, but is there something you would like to add still on that topic, or shall we move to the next one?
You know, the only thing I would, we talked about speed. There's always the focus and the excellence. And really our customers are, we have over 100 customers, and some of them are entrepreneurs that have grown from $1 million to $150 million companies in just a matter of a year or two. And some that are much, much larger than that. And they really need to focus on what's key to them. And that's really the excellence that Turvo can provide. And then the partnership with Youredi. We want to just make sure that they know that we can handle the integrations just as a partnership together.
Okay. You also mentioned automation, like I did earlier. In this kind of let's say, the promises of the modern tech stacks, and especially the modern tech stacks together, is automation and increased productivity. Unfortunately, we don't always see that, and we see some stories about pretty interesting projects and deployments and some challenges. But how does this work, in your opinion, between our two solutions and our two companies in the favor of the end customers?
Okay, so two things I'm going to talk about is one, elimination of data entry. Again, getting a file and somebody having to manually cobble that into their system, or to be able to try and parse that into a system, leading to errors. The error minimization is key, and then the speed is also key, so that this is operating in a near real-time environment, that we need that data in now, and we need it accurate, no questions asked, no failures, no sitting in queue, no batching. Again, just a near real-time environment of exchanging that data the right way the first time.
Okay, so one question in regards to your customer audience. You have a lot of different kind of customers. You have like startup brokers. You have also like multi-billion-dollar companies. Is there a specific type of a customer, in your opinion, where this kind of a joint offering works better? Is there some kind of a ground rule, like number of integrations or number, complexity level or whatever? How would you define that?
Okay, it's thanks for that question too, because I'd like to talk about it, because there really isn't a definition of the perfect customer. The perfect customer to us is one that wants to partner and wants to utilize those best of breed solutions. We have some customers that Youredi has integrated to on our behalf, and they're utilizing Turvo and everything that we've got native to the Turvo TMS platform. But then also what we've got is maybe one financial system that we need to integrate to, and you're doing that work for us today and on behalf of our Turvo and our customer. We also have some that are operating 4 different data point integrations, and you're running that simultaneously for us. So we appreciate that. So basically, somebody that sees the vision of using best of breed is key. The number of integrations, to kind of summarize, is irrelevant, one to many. But then also somebody that sees the power of to iPaaS to be scalable and future-proof. That's really the key there. Because as we might have to make a change to our API due to new features and enhancements that we're coming up with, and we do have 4 major releases of a year, that might change the construct of an API to be able to add a feature. And you guys are on point. Youredi is on point to be able to then manage that and then handle that exchange with the customer. So that overall scalable and future-proof mentality is also paramount.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for those kind words. Before we go into the Q&A, and by the way, to the attendees, if you have questions, please, post those on the Q&A tab there on the top ribbon of the system. Last question, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose to work with Youredi? I guess there's lots of players in the market at the moment, so why us?
So in the sales engineering role, and appreciate that question as well. We're always in there. We're in creating a solution. We're doing the discovery. We're seeing systems that we're going to have to integrate to. And we've tried some other large customers. If I said one of the names, and they've been around for 40 years, and everybody knows who they are, and they might feel safe there. However, they maybe aren't focusing on supply chain. We knew you were. You have a very quick acting team. Our first engagement was handled with precision and excellence, and then we allowed you to have more business. So those are some of the things that really drove us to continue the relationship. But then also when we saw your dedication and passion in the industry, that was very, very important to Turvo and our customers. We knew that integration, how important it is, and how important your business is to you and the business that you operate. Really can't suffer and take any hits of negativity. So this is something that's got to succeed for both parties, and together we're stronger companies because of it.
Yeah, but thanks a lot for that. Also putting a lot of pressure on us now because we have lots of deployments ongoing and new cases.
That's right.
But well, we know at least what is the OKR model for the technical teams for the deployment at the moment. But thanks a lot. So let's go for the questions. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so there is questions here. I wonder if Youredi is suitable for road transportation. Oh, wait a minute. Is suitable for road transportation only, or if it is a multimodal solution? So the answer to this is we actually operate through all the different modes of transportation. We have a lot of operations also on the ocean logistics side and air freight. As said, our platform is completely, let's say, horizontal in a way that we are not limited to any kind of industry-specific messages or hard-coded to some processes. We are definitely serving the whole let's say supply chain and logistics across the different modes, and the idea is to be able to provide this kind of end-to-end data connectivity for the shipments and the material flows. Thanks for the question. There's another question here. Could you please say a few words about pricing for the service? I believe this question is targeted for maybe both of us. So maybe you do want to take first that, Jeff, on the Turvo side. How do you price? What is it subscription based? And if yes, what does affect the price?
Sure. So essentially Turvo is a basis points model. So we look at what is going through the pipe from a revenue standpoint, and that's one of the methods that we can use to ultimately charge for our services. And there's other models that we've utilized, but essentially that itself is one of our main items. We also have some customers that are, basically buying batches of transactions in a specific time frame, so 10,000 shipments and so forth, and being able to process those at a specific cost through the system. Now, when it does come to integrations, then we do pass them to your pricing model so that the total cost of ownership can be truly understood.
Yeah, and our pricing model is usually based on fixed, predictable pricing. Depending on the data volumes, in these kind of cases, we don't talk about huge volumes, so we tend to go with the flat rates so that the parties understand that okay, this is how much it's going to cost to set it up for different use cases, and this is how much it's going to cost to run it. The subscription-based pricing, which is annual or semi-annual or monthly, depending on the case. It's pretty standard in this SaaS world. I think we have one more question here and we have 1 more minute, so let's see. This is targeted to Youredi. Can we use Youredi's iPaaS as a tool to build integrations in-house, or is it available as a managed service only? That's a really good question. Our technology is a technology tool that can be used and it could be used in-house. But especially for the reasons that were brought up earlier in the webinar, that customers need help and we need to talk the language of supply chain and in this industry. We have most of our customers actually using it as a managed service, so they don't want to deal with integrations. They don't want to know what is an API to EDI connectivity process and what are the complications and so on. So if I would say that if we have a big volume, very complex environment, like an ecosystem play, then it definitely is worth considering also the way of or the option of using Youredi as a individual, let's say, installation or tenancy for those use cases. But hey, I thank you, Jeff, so much for taking the time. Thanks to all the attendees. Again, thanks to the marketing teams. Any questions you might have, feel free to reach out to us. I believe our emails are on the websites, and we're going to follow up after the webinar as well. So if we can help you in any ways, we are more than happy to take those actions. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jaakko.
Thanks, everybody.